Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is good to be here. Um, I am just taking in some of the audio from Clubhouse. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube, to LinkedIn, Twitter, all of those places. Just want to say a word of welcome to all of the folks that are out there. We've got a couple of people watching already. Thankful for everybody that's already joining us in the room on Clubhouse as well. Don Daniel, the man of the hour, is on his way. For those that don't know, we had some interesting weather here in Huntsville over the last 24 hours, actually last 48 hours, right? We had some tornado scares Saturday night. And then, of course, today we have snow, right? Because that's what happens in the South, apparently. No, but this is unusual, even for us. But we're hoping that he can get into his office studio safely, and he can join us here in just a second. Don, if you, I believe, if you speak, even where you are now, you can be heard. But let me just go ahead and introduce myself real quick. My name is Kirk Nugent. I get to serve as your producer for this show, 4 times a week, 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and we come in a slightly different time on Sundays. I see some of you already coming through in the comments. Good morning, Jeremiah, one of our regulars. Thank you for coming through. But yeah, I get to serve as your producer. One of the things I love is to amplify people's messages, amplify your brand, amplify your superpower with live video, because live video is that thing that's going to really be a critical component to plucking you out of the shadows and putting you prominently in the spotlight, because there's something that you have to provide the world, whatever that thing is. You want to make sure that it gets to the people who need it most. I'm big on serving, right? Being of service to people in the best way I know how, and in the unique skills and talents that God has entrusted to me. Oh, look at that! We got Don coming in here. Let me see what we can do here. Let me make a change real quick, guys.
There we
One
go.
second.
I think we
One
got it.
second. I think we got
All
it. All
right.
right. Hold
Thank you,
on.
Kirk,
Hold on.
for that. Definitely tap in with Kirk if you're interested in StreamYard and streaming all of your activity on Clubhouse to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter the way that Don is doing. If you want to see an example of that, go to your laptop or iPad, go type in ice10klive.com and choose the streaming platform of your choice. And you'll be able to see Don's example live on your screen once he's in the building. So, Don, I want to just check in with you if you come off mute and let us know if you're ready. If not, we can, give you some more time.
No. I'm here. I'm here. Listen, I had to get into the office. My wife was watching the news reports because we're from Michigan, and the kind of snow that we have here. So Kurt, do you spend any time in Michigan?
Oh yeah, I definitely did.
Okay, so we're being from Michigan, you know how to drive in the snow, and
Yes, you
then
do.
here with just a little bit of snow can shut everything down. Even the threat of snow can shut
Yes, sir.
everything down. And so my wife was saying, "Listen, these the two exits that I need, are already shut down because of accidents. So I had to go all the way around." So I was appreciative for that information, or I would have been still out on the highway trying to do this
Mm.
show. And my wife is actually in the house down below, and I had to call her first before coming online to tell her I had made
Come
it to the
on.
office safe and sound.
Hi, beautiful. Good morning.
So listen, that's kind of what's up today. Listen, what we do here is valuable. What we do here is extremely exciting. But if we can't make it to the office and be safe, what good is it?
Yeah, definitely don't want to do that.
So anyway, folks, my name is Don Daniel. I'm the founder of Pill Method International. I'm your interest cancellation expert, or ICE for short. And with interest cancellation, what we're talking about is learning how to read an amortization schedule so that you can cut your interest costs by 75%. You don't have to pay all of that interest. We're going to show you not just how to save interest. we're going to show you how to save the maximum amount of interest per dollar applied. So you heard of getting the biggest bang for your buck? Oh my gosh, you're not going to be wasting any money from now on. All of your pennies are going to be working. We do a thing called we talk about, the power of the penny, and I think maybe we ought to talk about that a little bit. But anyway, I just want to go ahead and get started, Jared. I'm hoping that we can get some people to come up and ask some questions. I have a surprise for everyone. Hopefully, we had a gentleman give me a call last night and had a testimony about how the pill method was working for him. I would love for him to be able to come on stage a little later and talk about that. And it'll probably come up in the at the top of the hour. So that would be great in the 9 o'clock hour. So hopefully he'll be in by then. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for being here in the Pill Method Club, the first club meeting of the new year, and when you're going to put your finances on steroids, learning all of this new information. All right, Jared, back to you, sir.
All right. So this room, it lasts 2 hours. So we'll be wrapping up at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And this is an opportunity to get some free guidance from Don. So just FYI, Don's time outside of Clubhouse, outside of these streaming platforms is not free. But he does this room 4 days a week, 8 a.m. Eastern time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So would love for you in the audience, whether you're Jonathan, Dario, Lashana, all the way down to Prenum. If you have a question, please raise your hand. You can ask about your refinance. You can ask about your mortgage. How can you take your mortgage from where it's at currently to 7 to 10 years? You can ask about student loans, auto loans, credit card debt. Anything you ask not only will help you in your 2022 financially, but it will help people in the audience understand how they can apply this pill method to their specific situation. And Don, while we're waiting for people to raise their hand, can you explain what the acronym of PILL method stands for?
Certainly. PILL stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. When we prepay principal, most people understand that they can pay extra on their loans. What we don't understand is what happens when we do. We know we're saving time and we know we're saving interest. But folks, what we're going to be talking about today is one of the things that we're going to be talking about in terms of prepaying principal is if you don't know what happens, then you are at a disadvantage. And let me show you what I mean by that. I have a little case here my wife got me. And we have a bunch of batteries around the house. See this little case here? You can put batteries in and the different sizes for the batteries. But you know what? The most valuable thing is in here? This little thing right here. It is a way to find out if your batteries have any charge. It's a measuring device. Do you know we had new batteries we have a little battery basket because, we have a lot of Christmas lights and stuff. All right. So we had a battery basket and they're with brand new batteries in it. And do you know some of those batteries had no charge?
Wow.
I didn't know that. We were keeping those batteries because they were new in the package. And then, if you don't have a way of measuring, then you've got to try each one, find out that they don't work. And then if you have 3 or 4 batteries in a thing, then you got to find out which of the 4 batteries is not working. That can be time consuming. But do you know, in just a few minutes, using a measuring device, I figured out which batteries were bad. We discarded them and we kept the rest right here. We had a lot more than this, but now we don't. So why did I bring that up? When we prepay principal, folks, we are out here dealing with finances that have decades long of repercussions. Decades long. Here's what I mean. What if you made a decision today that you thought was a good decision, and you find out years later, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later, that it was a mistake? Why does it take so long to figure out whether it was a mistake? Because we don't have anything to measure to tell us that the decision that we made, because it came from financial experts, we don't know what mistake we made because there's no measurement. Now, when we just take it for granted that if I pay extra on the loan, eventually I'll be out of debt faster and cheaper. If that's what I'm doing, and if that is going to be my goal, then I won't look any farther. I won't know what's happening. But what if I had a way of measuring what I did and measure its efficacy? Uh-oh, how effective is the decision I just made? Do you know people make decisions about finances that actually end up hurting them? You know, I had a guy who got what is it, a tax return, and with that tax return, he says, you know what? We can pay off our car with this tax return and then take the money we're no longer paying on the car. We can now put that on the mortgage every month to help pay that off. But with our help, because we have a measuring tool, we ask the question, what is the reason for paying off the car? Just to pay off the car to zero? Or are you paying off the car to save interest? So here's my question. If all of your debt were 0% interest, would there be any financial advantage to paying the debt off early? Well, the answer is no. Okay. There's no financial advantage. It's like buying stuff on layaway. Every dollar you put up goes to principal. All right. So or paying back the loan. The reason why loans take so long to pay off is because too much of your payment, 60, 70, 80% of your payment is going to interest, and a small amount of money actually pays down the loan. That's what we've learned to accept. That's part and parcel of our life. We just do it without thinking about it. And then that's why it takes so long to pay off a loan. And I mentioned just the other day, why does a Lamborghini, a $200,000 Lamborghini, pay off in 7 years, but a $200,000 mortgage on a house takes 30 years? Uh-oh. Why is that? Because we are conditioned to accept that. Why don't we treat our houses and other debts like we treat our cars? There is a way to do that with your current budget to pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. Why? Because we are able to measure outcomes. When you can measure outcomes, then you can say, if I did this thing, what would be the outcome for me 10 years later, or 7 years later, or 11 years later? What would be the outcome? But what if you knew that ahead of time? I don't have to keep batteries around that are no good. I don't have to make financial decisions and find out years later that it hurt my family. If you have a way of measuring, we have such a way. It's called an opportunity cost calculator. When we start plugging these numbers in and understanding how loans actually work, you can get rid of the things that don't work early in life and only keep the things that do work early in life and put yourself ahead of the game. Now, what does that mean? And I'm going to show, let me give you an example of that, what I'm talking about right now. I'm going to put.
And this is Jared. Just FYI, we have some questions online.
Oh, we got questions online? Go. Okay, let's take those questions right now, because I'm telling you, this is what we're talking about. This is what the whole show is about. What are your questions? Let's get some answers.
All right. Well, Jeremiah Sams comes in. He said he's got 2 questions. I think he's actually got 3. But anyway, he says, one, should we take the equity out of our home to pay on the mortgage?
Okay, let's take a look at that.
Start there. All right.
Okay. Should we take the equity out of our home to pay on the mortgage? I don't know. What is your methodology of measuring? If I take equity out of the home, How much is it going to cost me to take equity out of the home? Do I have a way of measuring that, Jeremiah? And then if I take that money and put it on principal of my home, what he's talking about is, should I take out one loan to help pay down another loan? It's an arbitrage play. So we're taking out money that's less expensive and putting it on a more expensive debt. So you're essentially transferring debt that is expensive to a debt that is less expensive. But here's the thing. The way that is generally taught online, no one is telling you how much it's actually costing you and how much you're actually saving. They're telling you that you are saving, and it's true, you are. But listen, if I was driving from here to California, and I have no idea how long it takes because I've never driven from Huntsville to California. And they said, well, Don, it's going to take you 10 days to drive from Huntsville to California. How would I know any different? How would I know? I don't have a way of measuring. People telling me, and they're here's your way to get there. All right. And I don't know. It takes 10 days. That's what I was told. But somebody comes along and says, you know what? You can actually do it in a much shorter time and in a relaxing fashion if you did it this way. And here's your tool to not only measure your outcomes, but we're going to give you exactly what you need to know: where to turn, how fast to drive, and then all the other shortcuts you need to be able to get there at a much shorter time and in a relaxed fashion. That would be valuable information to me. But when we have information like this, when we could plug in, then we could answer these questions. And most of the time, here's the thing: even though we can save money by using a line of credit to put on the mortgage, 99.99% of my clients don't use a line of credit. It is much more they're much more effective just optimally using their income and using anything that we can take out of equity to invest in other properties that can become income producing. So we're going to hit the thing from both sides. We're going to kill interest cost using our income more effectively, pay off our debt in record time using our income more effectively. And if we take cash out of our equity, we can actually put that into rental property so that we're making money with our money, with our opportunities here, as we are saving money in interest at the same time. Saving money over here, making money over there. I'm telling you, it's much more effective if you have a measuring tool, a tool to measure what you're doing. All right. Any other questions?
Okay. His second question is, could you tell us how much we will be paying back if we had a 1%, 2%, or 3% interest rate?
Definitely. I could definitely tell you. I could definitely tell you if we plugged specific information into our opportunity cost calculator. I could definitely do that. And so let's, asking a question here in general, by asking it this way, then this is how we have learned how to ask financial questions and to get what's called a rule of thumb or heuristic. Here is what you would do if your loan was 1%. Here's what you would do if your loan was 2%. Here's what you would do if your loan was 3%. No, you can't do it like that. And here's why. Because I don't know what your outcomes would be if you had two mortgages, a student loan, and you just bought a new car. I don't know what it means if you just bought a new house that has 5 bedrooms and your electricity bill is $400 a month, as opposed to a smaller house where your electricity bill may be $75 or $100 a month. All of these variables matter when choosing which interest rate we need. And most people are unaware that we have to break it down to that kind of level to make these decisions. There's too many people online, and I mean some of the big names, that are giving you, each and every one of you, the same advice, and we take it hook, line, and sinker. And I'm telling you, if you had a doctor that was giving everybody in your town, giving them the same medical advice, would you continue to go to that doctor who is treating every single patient the same way? The answer would be no. Then why do we take it financial advice from so-called financial gurus that are giving everybody the same advice? My goodness, it doesn't work. It has never worked. And what we don't hear, and let me tell you why, when we hear on these programs somebody screaming out, I'm debt free, okay? They scream out that I'm debt free because if you have a program that's nationwide, then out of a program that goes out nationwide, you're going to have a certain number of people who are going to be successful on that program. But by no stretch of the imagination does that mean that everybody or even most people are going to be successful on that program, because all you see is the successful people on that particular program. And if we put them in a small space, then what it becomes is what's called an echo chamber. When everybody is saying the same thing and they're trotting them out there, then it is easy to start believing that anybody who did that would get the same result. And that is absolutely not true. You need a program that's going to be specific to your situation and your needs and give you a track to run on that's going to help you specifically. And that's why a question like this can be misleading if we give people an answer that is general or a rule of thumb. And that's why we're here, folks, to give you good information. Anybody else?
All right, Don, this is Jared. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I see that Frank is on the stage. Also, just want to welcome 10K Cars, the Credit King, Steve, and the Credit Cleanup Woman, Shay King, to the stage. Amazing people on this app. Definitely recommend you give them a follow. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can get an example where you can jump into an amortization schedule or a calculator. So Frank, thank you so much for coming on the stage. Please let us know what your question is. And if, Don, for whatever reason, the question doesn't yield an opportunity to actually get through an example, maybe you can talk about the power of the penny or some of your go-to examples where you've helped customers. But let's see if we can get an example with Frank. So, Frank, please let us know what your question is.
Well, actually, Frank is the person that was our surprise. He has some information for us. Frank, can you hang out here for a few more minutes to let a few more people come into the room?
And Frank, if you're speaking, you're on mute right now. It's the bottom right-hand corner. You click the microphone and we can hear you talking.
You know, he could still be in his doctor's office. He said he would come in early if he could. But he could still be in the doctor's office. So let's get back to him. And I thought I saw a few more hands raised. But go ahead and do your thing, Jarrett, and I'll pull up the first example.
All right, cool. And Conscious Credit and Mary Usen, I see your hands raised, but we are not having luck getting you on stage. So if you can click the accept of the invitation, I'm inviting you again. We would love for you to come on stage and ask your question. And then I see Daniel Brown is on the stage. Daniel, thanks for coming on the stage. Do you have a question? Or, how can we help you?
Greetings, everyone. Good morning, Jared. Greetings to you, Mr. Daniels. It's Daryl, and grateful to be here.
Hey, Daryl.
Certainly have benefited from the insight, and I've already ordered the book. But I have a question with regard to savings.
Yes.
And what I'm looking to understand is there a heuristic around incorporating savings, or is that based on, I guess, an individual savings goal? And I just ask that in preparation for my wife and I building a home, and just kind of looking forward. You know, savings is kind of big in her. Is a goal for her,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of debt, getting out of debt, so to speak, is a goal for both of us. But I'm really just trying to revamp the way we're thinking about it from the insight that you share on here, ongoing.
Wow, Daryl, that is a great question in terms of savings. Now, that conjures up different types of savings. Tell us what you mean by savings, because I think I know where you're going, and I'm getting all excited just thinking about it.
Hopefully, what I say is not anticlimactic. Then, really, we're not. We don't have good experience with savings in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, emergency savings. Just really beginning to save well. Just kind of coming out of just generations of debt and working in that way. Just trying to establish a basis of healthy savings.
Ah, okay. So, you're not talking about long-term savings like um, retirement savings, like a 401k with your job and everything. You're talking about like emergency funds that you keep in the bank. Is that what you're talking about, Daryl?
That's correct.
All right. So here's my thought on that. All right. So what we're going to do, I've got to change screens now. We thought we put one thing up, but we're going to put another thing up instead. So let's go ahead and share this instead. And I think you're going to like what you see here, sir, when we talk about sharing this idea. All right. So let's, Kenyatta, let's get some folks in, because we're going to be talking about what a lot of the financial gurus teach in terms of keeping funds on hand just in case your income is becomes affected, and you want to have some of them are saying you want to have 6 months of income or 6 months of your monthly bills saved up, 6 months to a year even saved up, just in case you have an emergency, and you can use cash and not borrow to facilitate your living to your living while you are recovering or getting back into a new job. Okay, so let's invite some of the people in here.
Okay, Don. And yes, I think 6 months was the rule pre-COVID.
Mhm.
A year is definitely post-COVID. And if you guys want to see how to prepare yourselves for that, then you go to ice10klive.com, ice10klive.com, and then you will be able to choose from Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube how you want to view this example.
All right, so here's what we've got. So I'm having this same conversation with a I'm having this conversation with a banker who's a junior vice president, young person, junior vice president in this bank, about this very thing. So let me go ahead and put that in here. We're going to get rid of this. All right. So he's saying, I make, based on how much money I make, and this was some years ago, and I'm sitting in his office, and it came up that I want to put $36,000 away just in case my wife can't work or I can't work, so we can continue to pay bills. Is this what you're talking about, Daryl?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's what I asked him. I said, now, if you let's take a look at your mortgage. You could easily put $36,000 away based on what you're making, and put that away. But I said, do you want to pay tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes 60, 70,000? Do you want to pay 50, 60, 70,000 dollars just to keep from paying $5,000? So I'm going to ask it to you, dear. What if you heard that? Do you want to pay $50,000 or $60,000 just to keep from paying $5,000? What would your answer be to that?
I would not want to pay more.
Yeah, you would not want to, you would not want that scenario. So let's take a look at this. So this gentleman who could put $36,000 away, I said, now what if instead of taking that 36,000, because you wouldn't want access to it, you would want it liquid, so you would want to put it in some sort of bank account so you could access it in times of emergency. Okay, so by doing that, you're putting it in, let's say you're putting it in a bank account that's making what, 0.1%. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Now if you take a look at this loan here, you can see principal, interest, cumulative principal, and cumulative interest. This is something like his loan, but it's not exactly like, because we want to we always want to protect someone else's information. So this is not exactly this person's loan, but it's close to it. Okay, so here's what I want you to see. If we take a look at this, we can see how much principal we pay down and interest we then we pay off in a year. So in 1 year, he's paid this loan down by $7,924.68, and it costs $17,000 in interest to do that. Let's take a look. Let's go down to $36,000. Let's see. Here's where we get right about $36,000. If you were to put $36,000 prepaid on this loan, okay, instead of just sticking it in a savings account, if you put $36,000 prepaid on this loan, look what it does. It knocks off over 50 payments. Okay, that's 4 years. Okay, 48 months. That's 4 years off the mortgage. And look here, how much interest does he save at the $35,000 level? $70,800. About $70,000 is what he would save. All right. And then I asked him, I said, now, since you are at the bank, could you get a line of credit for $36,000? Well, actually, at $36,000, that puts us at $73,000 in interest. It could knock off $73,000 in interest. So here's what I asked him. I said, could you get a line of credit for $36,000? He says, well, sure, I could. Yeah, I could get a line of credit for $36,000 because I work at the bank. And I said, if you got a line of credit like a HELOC, home equity line of credit, how much interest are you paying on that money, on that the availability of that money? He says, I'm not paying any interest on that because I haven't borrowed anything. I just have it available to me. I said, now let me get this straight. You have $36,000 available to you that is not costing you anything for an eventual emergency that may never happen. He says, well, yeah, yeah, 36,000 available just in case something bad happens, but chances are it will not happen. But if it does, I have it. It's there for the ready. And I said, let's just say if you put that $36,000 on your mortgage and you knock off 4 years and save yourself over $70,000, would you, in interest, would that be a good thing for you? He says, well, yeah, that would be a great thing for us. Knock off 4. I didn't realize he's working in a bank. He didn't realize that putting this kind of money on the debt would knock off so many years and save so much interest, over $70,000. And I said, now let's take for instance, let's take for granted that something happens and you can't work for a while and you have to borrow every single dime of that $36,000. Now I know you could put it away easily. And let's say you had to borrow all of that and then you go back to work. So you go back to work and now you got to pay back the 36 grand. And this is why people don't want to borrow the money, because they have to pay interest on the money borrowed. So let's take a look at that. We're going to go over to here. We're going to put in $36,000 into this amortization schedule. 36,000. We're going to give him 5 years to pay it back. He could pay it back easy, but I'm going to give him 5 years to pay it back. Okay. 5 years to pay it back at a whopping 6% interest. Okay. Watch what his payment is going to be. He could easily make that payment, $695 a month. Here is what I was talking about. Look at the total interest cost of paying back the borrowed money, ladies and gentlemen. Right here, $5,758.80. Now back to my question. Do you want to pay $70,000 on your mortgage to save that cash in a bank account making 0.1%, to avoid paying interest on a loan that would do the same thing for you, and the interest amounts to $5,700? Do you want to pay $70,000 to avoid paying $5,700? Do you see what we're talking about, Daryl?
Absolutely.
So, am I against keeping cash on hand? Absolutely not. But I am opposed to keeping large sums of cash on hand when it could be saving us tens and sometimes even, this is nearly $100,000 in interest that we've got to pay. Sorry about that, folks. That we've got to pay just to be able to feel secure. Now, it's a form of having what's called a sinking fund. And I do a thing that we call sinking funds are not thinking funds. So when we think it out and look at what is going to be the cost of our decisions, the cost of keeping $36,000 in the bank is the $70,000 I'm going to choose to pay in interest and not even realize I'm paying it. Why? Because I don't have a way to measure. And I'm going to avoid borrowing the money because it just feels like I'm going to be paying a lot of interest because I don't have a way to measure. But when we have a way to measure, folks, we make vastly different decisions when it comes to our money. So we're going to now put ourselves in a position where we can have a balance of credit to help us out in difficult times and a smaller amount of cash to help us out in difficult times, because now the new word is fungible. Fungible, fungible, meaning that these funds are interchangeable. Your cash and your credit, that money is interchangeable. But if you have debt, the most expensive money that you have, if you have debt, is the money in your bank. It's more expensive than your most expensive credit card when you look at how much money interest you could save with that money, as opposed to how much it would cost you if you had to use the credit card in an emergency situation. Daryl, I hope that's been helpful.
Absolutely has. Greatly appreciate the insight.
Certainly. And if you want to know how it would work out for you individually, we would drill down and talk about what is that number that you need to have in cash. What is that number that you need to have available in credit if you have a certain a certain amount of income that would dictate to us how much money we would want to have on both sides of that equation. Daryl, thank you very much for that question. Do you have an additional question for us this morning?
No, sir. I appreciate the insight. I'll continue to listen in.
Certainly. Thank you very much. All right. Anything else going on out there, folks? Jared, what's up?
Yeah, so just for the folks, if they wanted to get in touch with you to figure out the day, month, and year they'd be debt free, how would they get in touch with you?
Oh my gosh. Right above our heads, you see the link that says it would be at ice10klive.com. Just click on that link. And there's a button there that says get a savings and earnings report. Fill out that report. Now, listen, we had this time of year, we have a flood of people asking for reports. And, you've heard about the one-armed paper hanger. So listen, folks, give us some time. We are going to get to each and every one, but this is a special time of year because people are thinking about, New Year's resolutions, and I want to do things differently financially. And when some businesses slow down at Christmas time and New Year's, ours actually picks up. So I promise you, it takes just a little bit longer to get to you than normal, but we will get to you. So fill out the financial data. When you click on that button that says get a savings and earnings report, someone from my office will verify that information and then set up a consultation. And we will go over with you the month, day, and year you can be debt free. And the interest saved, we'll show you how you can turn that interest savings into generational wealth. Because I guarantee you, if the bank gets that extra money in interest, they're going to invest it. But what if you don't have to pay it? Could you invest it also? You most certainly can. And we're going to talk about how. Jared, back to you, sir.
Awesome. So yeah, please make sure that if you're not already doing so, click the greenhouse at the top. Make sure you follow the club, and you can click the add member button and add some members to the club that you think could really benefit from this information. And also want to make sure that you click on Don's profile and give him a follow if you're not already, and click that bell icon next to the follow button and click always on. So anytime he pops on the stage regarding real estate or financial literacy, generational wealth building, you'll be alerted and you'll be able to see the rooms that he does outside of the P.I.L.L method, as well as the ones we do on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time and 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. If you could, we'd love for you to click that plus sign and invite 5 to 10 people into the room so they can start their 2022 with this information, so they can look at their mortgage situation differently and save a ton of money in interest cost. And if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn, or YouTube, click that share option and bring some people in. And if you're on those streaming platforms, feel free to ask a question in the chat, and Kirk will look out for them, and we will prioritize and answer those questions. And if you're in the Clubhouse audience, take advantage of the next hour. We'll be ending the room at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and it never fails. Around 15 minutes until the end of the show, we'll have 5 hands raised, because people realize, oh, wow, I could actually save money by coming on stage and asking a question about my refinance, my student loans, my car loans, my credit card debt, or my mortgage situation. So definitely would love for you to not be left out. Come on the stage, raise your hand, and ask about, should I make this down payment? Should I do a refinance? How can I make my 30-year mortgage a 7 to 10-year mortgage? And your question will benefit everybody with a detailed answer. So please raise your hand. Tambra, I see your hand raised. I'm not sure why we can't get you on stage. Also want to shout out Malachi and the Followed by the Speakers. Make sure you check out his profile, give him a follow. He kills it in the tax accounting, rooms and the value he adds in the real estate space. So shout out to him. And shout out to Credit Goddess and Credit King for joining the stage as well. Make sure you tap on their profiles, give them a follow, as well as Kenyatta, YCEO, and Kirk. There's a lot of value on the stage. So we'd love for you to ask a question, but if there are no questions.
Hey Jared, I've got a, because the app is so glitchy sometimes, if people have a difficulty getting to the stage, does it ever help for them to leave the app and then come back in, and then their things work right? Does that ever work?
Yeah, that could be an option. So Tambra, if you can leave the room and then come back into the room and raise your hand again, maybe that will help you get on the stage so you can ask your question. But Don, is there a go-to example that you would like to talk about that would illustrate how the P.I.L.L method would be helpful for the audience?
All right, let's go ahead and bring up an example here that, if you know how to measure, can actually help you. Remember, measuring is the key to all of this. You can't optimize what you cannot measure, and we have been taught not to measure. So we have an example here that we're putting on the screen right now.
And Don,
yes,
whenever you get a chance, it's been a while since we did the power of the penny. And if we have time, could you please introduce that so that people don't think that they have to have a huge amount of money?
I would love to do power of the penny right after this. All right. All right. So, folks, here's what we're talking about. And what Kenyatta is also speaking of is putting all of our pennies to work. All right. When we use heuristics, when we use a rule of thumb, we do not use the power of all of our income to the point where it's going to make more money for us, save more money for us. And then see, if you use your money right, you can grow your savings, get out of debt in record time, save interest up to 75%, and then take that interest savings and then grow your wealth. This is what we're talking about. Okay. You can do all of these things, and sometimes you could do them simultaneously based on trying to figure out how much money goes to debt reduction and how much money should go towards wealth creation. You have to have a formula that helps you to understand growing your wealth, but not letting someone siphon off your wealth through excessive interest cost, not your interest rate, but your interest cost. Low interest rates translate into high interest costs. Let me show you here what we're talking about. We had this particular loan. This was a brand new mortgage at 4% for these folks. And what we're talking about is with their mortgage and their loans, they owe a total of $204,000. And in the first 60 months on this loan, in the first 5 years, this is what it would look like for them. It was a comfortable payment. They liked everything about this, and they were going to go ahead and they jumped into this loan, but they heard about what we do and they asked, what should we be doing instead? So we showed them after 5 years, you would pay this loan down by $18,675.20 out of your payment. But look how much money goes to interest, $37,325.80. That is a lot of money to pay out for $18,000 worth of equity. So if you're taking a look at building equity here, folks, by paying down your mortgage, and it costs $37,000 in interest to get $18,000 in equity, do we really have equity at this point? If you got to pay $37,000 to get it, man, we have to start paying attention to our interest consumption, just like anything else. So here's the total amount of what they would pay out in 5 years, $56,000 just to get $18,600 in potential equity. Why? Because at 4% interest, the bank wants 71% of what you borrowed in terms of interest. And here's what I mean. If your loan was $100,000 for 30 years at 4%, here's how much interest the bank would want on a $100,000 loan. $71,870 interest on a $100,000 loan at 4%. Folks, does that sound like 4% to you? Where we have to pay $71,870 on a $100,000 loan? My goodness. And we got to pay $71,000 interest on that? Take that in terms of Kenyatta. You live in Chicago. Jared, listen, you're all over the place. I've seen, even in my little bit of experience, I've seen cars that cost more than $100,000. Can you imagine getting a car loan for 30 years that's going to cost you $71,000 to buy a car that costs you $100,000? Can you even wrap your mind around that idea? Why, CEO? You see a lot of stuff. Does that make sense to you?
That does not make sense.
Then why is it so easy for us to believe it takes 30 years to pay off a $100,000 house or a $200,000 house? We accept that without question, but we would not accept that for our Bentley or our Maserati or any other type of expensive car. You know, we wouldn't accept it. So what's going on here? What do we need to know instead? Here's where we're going with this. All right. If we treat our car, because we have a way of measuring, we have a tool that measures now. If we have a tool that measures how all of this works, we can make decisions like this and live a great lifestyle while we're doing it. So instead of paying off the $204,000 over 30 years, and paying out $143,018 in interest, how about just paying out $41,000? How about saving over $108,000? How about doing that instead and paying off the $204,000 in 7.5 years? Take the interest savings that we didn't have to pay the bank, and over the next 22 years, instead of giving the bank all of this money over 30 years, let's take some of that money and put it away and build wealth with it, over $815,000. Instead of trying to pay off a mortgage in 30 years and then just be done. How about at the same time other people are paying off their mortgages, you have a mortgage that's been paid off years early, and now you've turned that money that was going to go to the bank into over $800,000. Do you know what's surprising about this number here? This $815,000? That's at 1% interest return on their money. where we're averaging 6, 7, 8%. This could easily be $1 million for this family, working a 9-to-5 job, having a paid off house and a nest egg, in addition, a nest egg of another $1 million, in addition to what they're already saving in their savings plans at work. OMG. That's what we're talking about, folks. Jared, back to you, sir.
All right, all right. Now, I appreciate that example. And real quick, you have a best-selling book on Amazon where people can basically read up on these principles and share this with friends and family. Would love for you to talk about that. And I'm going to ping in Sean so he can talk about the partnership as we do so.
All right, all right, all right. So, folks, we have a best-selling book on Amazon. Out of 33 million titles, there's only one book that talks about what we're talking about there, how to understand an amortization schedule and how to defeat it, how to keep the banks from siphoning off your wealth through excessive interest payments, because we don't have a way of measuring. We don't know that we're paying 35, watch this now, we're paying 35 to 39% of our take-home pay just on interest. The average family. That's a lot of money. 35 to 39% of our take-home pay pays interest. That's why it takes so long. What if we could cut that way down? What if there was a way to measure, to know exactly what to do with our monies to get out of debt in a year sooner, and then take the money that we did not have to pay in interest to acquire the same asset? We could acquire that asset years sooner without having to deal with that. So listen, folks, here's what we're talking about. This book will give you a roadmap, to understanding why it is necessary to have measuring tools in place to help you to understand why the bank is charging so much interest and how you can avoid it. It's going to help you to understand why you need a measuring tool. It's like a precursor. It's like Finance 101, and then we're going to graduate you to we're going to make sure that you enter into grad school using this information at a much higher level. Then you'll be able to save tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest, pay off all of your debt in record time, boom, and then invest that money into your families instead of giving it to the bank. I love the bank. I love the bank because we had, I say we had 4 mortgages. You know why I say we had 4 mortgages, Jared?
Why's that?
Come on.
Because we just paid one of them off at the end of December.
Nice.
Now we only have 3. So that's kind of what we're talking about, folks. This is why it is so exciting to do what it is that we do. All right. So that was a goal for my wife, to pay off one of these mortgages by December. And listen, by doing it in the way that we do it, by canceling that interest, we were able to do some fantastic things. All right. And Jared, listen, once we get the book, once people get the book, is 10K back in the room yet? Let me know. Once we get the book, guess what, folks? We have partnered with the CEO of 10K Cards, the most prolific and important digital business card on the planet right now, and we are giving away one card per book. If you buy 2 books, we're going to give you 2 digital cards that you can give away. I'm telling you, it's a fantastic deal, and each card is worth $100. Has a $100 value, and we are making that a present from us to you, because you've taken the leap to get the book to start your financial education. Miss Kenyatta, would you please tell the folks how they can get their 10K cards with an S when they get their books with an S?
With an S, we're doing partnerships galore this year, and this partnership has been in place since. So this is how you join it. You want to go ahead and screenshot that receipt after you purchase the book. You're going to go to ice10klive.com and upload it to where it says step 2, I'm ready. And that's going to be on your left-hand side, 2 blocks down. And then you're going to build out your card, letting us know what you want, social media, email, phone numbers, all of that jazz. Then you're going to let us know where you want it sent, and we will deliver it in an hour or less. And you'll have yourself a digital card valued at $100.
All right. And 10K, Mr. 10, Sean 10K, why is that so important?
I'm listening to the conversation, right?
Right.
And we're going to add that form today that says, I'm ready. And we're going to change it to step 1, buy the book. Step 2, get the 10K card.
Yes.
So we're going to change that button. Now, while we're changing that as well, we're going to include a new option, Don, because, you had a conversation yesterday, guys. And I'm looking to see how much more value 10K cards can bring to the P.I.L.L method. I know we discussed, I asked Don a question. I said, Don, what would it mean to your community if 10K cards can put an extra $100 to $200 into the hands of your clients? Don, I want you to give your response to that one really quick, man. You were a little more dramatic than I am.
Listen, man, I said in our opportunity cost calculator, they would see a dramatic difference in how much interest they could save and how much time they could knock off with an extra $100 to $200 coming into their household per month. Sean, that would be a game changer.
When I mentioned it to Don, and Don is in his world, understand the impact of it, we recognize it would do significant damage to the interest that is being extorted from our clients. So what we're going to be doing, guys, we're going to now be offering the upgrade from the promo card to the clients. And before that form is updated, if any one of you guys are interested, just text me the word ICE updated. And we're going to get you the updated version, the upgraded version, of the 10K card. And the purpose of this is very simple: to put an extra $100 to $200 in your pocket minimum. Because as much as Don may want you to work on a budget, how about if we can add some more disposable income to that budget? That's what we here at 10K Cards will be doing for you. So we don't want to just be a pretty face on stage. We're going to be that engine in the bank that's driving more funds into your account so you can get rid of that interest faster. For 2022, we're probably going to look to relabel, pay off your mortgage in 6 to 7 years. That's my mission for 2022, guys. So with that said, Don, and guys, very simple. Forgive me for not introducing myself. I'm the founder of 10K Cards and the co-founder of Savage Marketing. And my simple purpose in this app is to do 2 things. 1, make sure everyone have the upgraded 10K cards. Because having the sample version to represent itself is good, but having the upgraded version give you a referral link, puts money in your pocket. So if anyone have the existing card and they want to upgrade, text me the word upgradeice.com or upgrade ice. One of the 2 is fine. And if your business can do better with some marketing, just text me the word marketing. You'll see your discovery call link, and we'll see how we help you. With that said, Don, back to you, brother.
All right. So let's go ahead and get that up and running. So Jared, we have Frank back in the house.
Yes, we do. Hey, Frank, please let us know if you're around. Would love to hear from you. And just click that microphone icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and we'll be able to hear you speak. And Frank, if you're speaking, you're on mute, so we cannot hear you if you are speaking. If you just go to your screen and go to the bottom right-hand corner, there's a microphone icon. If you click that, we'll be able to hear you speak.
Actually, Frank is a moderator in another group on Sundays in the what's called the Real Estate Wealth Chat. And if he's not speaking, it's probably for a good reason. He told me that he would be busy, and then hopefully he'll be able to come in. So Frank, when you are ready, flash your mic, and then we'll have you talk about what you wanted to talk about today. All right. So flash your mic when you're ready. So Jared, back to you. He's going to flash his mic when he's ready to talk.
All right, cool. We had a question on the stage, but it looks like they might have popped out. So if anybody has a question in the audience, please feel free to raise your hand. We have about 48 minutes left in this room. It never fails. We'll have about 5 hands up in the last 10 minutes of the room, and we don't want that to happen to you. So if you have too much refinance, your mortgage, your car loan, your student loan debt, or anything regarding credit card debt, please raise your hand. Your question will be helpful for everybody in the audience, but more importantly, it'll be helpful for you because Don's time is not free outside of Clubhouse and outside of these streaming platforms. So take advantage of some free consultation and save yourself a huge amount of interest costs with whatever question you decide to ask. So raise your hand, we'll bring it. But if we don't have any questions, we can go ahead. Here's Frank. Frank, you around?
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Hey, what's up, Frank?
Good morning,
yeah,
Frank.
we'll pause on the questions. We'll talk to Frank real quick. So Don, I'll pass it to you.
No, you can keep going. I'm good. I'm just sitting in the doctor's office.
Frank,
I gotta wait. I gotta wait until they come back with these COVID results. So we got nothing but time.
All right, man. So can you share with us a little bit, Frank, what you told me last night?
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for having me on this morning. And I just wanted to bring to the world's attention that I had the good fortune of coming across Don on Clubhouse back in April. And I'm not the fastest learner, so I waited another month and started making $1,000 extra payments on my mortgage, on a mortgage.
Frank, before you go there, tell us what you do for a living. Tell us why, because this is going to be why this is so important. What do you do for a living? What and how long have you been doing it?
Okay, let's start there. Thank you. Well, let me start off. My name is Frank, and I'm in Atlanta. And my wife and I are real estate investors. Mainly, we are affordable housing providers in the Atlanta area. And so we have a few mortgages that we are trying to, to reduce our expenses on going forward. And one case in point is the one that I brought to Don's attention last night. Like I mentioned, I started making payments, a $1,000 extra payment in June of 21, and I paid a total of 7 payments for the month 2021 of $7,000. And I did the calculations and looked at the schedules, and I believe that $7,000 saved us somewhere in the area of $41,000 in killed interest. If my observation is correct.
I did take a look at it, Frank. And so right now, here's what we're talking about. So we can go ahead and put this on the screen, Kurt. And this is Frank's amortization schedule that we have here, starting out at $187,550. Is that about right, Frank?
Yes.
And this is a rental property at 7.25%. And folks, when you talk about rental properties, these higher interest rates are not uncommon when you're talking about rental property. All right. But talk to us in terms of cash flow, and how do you determine, Frank, if a property is a good investment?
Well, I mean, that's a whole nother calculation. And you know that's a whole nother calculation. And um, we generally would not buy a house that has to be financed. We got this house on a good deal a long time ago, so we were able to pull money out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sophisticated enough to calculate how much you should take with the with mortgages and all that stuff. So
Right.
you know,
but what you did was you made sure that this house is making you money.
yes,
The house is making money. So you've done the calculations that far. Then you took some cash out of here and then invested in some other property, correct?
correct.
Excellent. So with those calculations, that these are good moves because you are an experienced real estate investor. All right. So here's the thing. Being experienced in real estate investing, had you ever considered how much interest you are actually paying, not the interest rate, but the interest cost on your loans? Have you ever really considered that before meeting P.I.L.L method?
I consider it frequently, but I just did it this time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really know, you know. It's from a philosophical point of view, and you know, we did it in, like I said, from June to the end of the year, so we had some data,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was able to go back and say, okay, we did this money. This is the action we took, and here's the results. And so we had some data, so that it was kind of overwhelming just to realize that something we actually did. It's not something that, you know, happened on TV on Don's, you know, on the YouTube.
All right. So here's what we're talking about, folks. We had so by just on 7 months worth of data, and he didn't have our system. He just heard me talking and says, well, we can actually save quite a bit of money by what I just heard. And here's what we're talking about, folks. Look at these principal payments here. We have principal payments right here, starting out about $146,000. I'm sorry, $146.31. Look at the interest payment here, 1133. Okay, 1133 here. So by every $1,000, just kind of imagine, with me. And I did some other calculations, Frank, and I believe you still saved about $35,000 just putting $1,000 on extra a month. So when not only did you make a payment, okay, look here, not only did you make a payment, a regular payment, but by putting an extra $1,000, you get to divide these small principal payments into that $1,000, and so you can knock off 1, 2. That's about 300. That's about 300. So you knock off about 6 payments every time you do that. 5 or 6 payments every time you do that. So, folks, this is where he is right now. This is where he started, and this is where he is right now, owing about $175,256. Now, it's not going to be exactly right because every time you put extra money on a loan, you alter the original amortization schedule. But if we go down to 175,000, this is where he is 7 months later. So boop, 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 boop. Here we are, 175,000. We're still moving. I don't want to go too fast because I want to pass it. Right here, about 175 to 56. And I did go past it. Doggone it. Right about in here. 175,000 to 56, right here, right around payment number 69. Payment number 69. He's already down there in 7 months. So, Frank, what payment would you be on if you had just kept making your monthly payments like normal?
37.
Payment number 37. So
December was actually the 3-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you would have been in there 3. And so it's just 37 payments. You would have been 37 payments in. And folks, at 37 payments in, okay, now remember, we're at payment number 68. Somebody help me to remember that because I don't have my notes right in front of me. Instead of 68, he would be at 36 instead. All right. Right here, where he would have paid down his loan by $5,863.99. but it will cost $40,000 in interest to do that. $40,000 normally. This property is still making money, but for most real estate investors, they're not looking at the fact that $5,800 in equity cost me $40,000 in interest to obtain. So now I'm acquiring the same asset, and now I'm not 36 months in. And what line did I say we were on?
69 or 68.
Right around in here. Look at this. This is crazy. Okay, and now we have we're paid down, have about over $12,000 in principal paid, and saving about $35,000 in interest. I haven't been able. It takes a lot of calculations to come up with an exact number, Frank, but somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000 in interest saved. Tell us, what does that mean to you now?
What it also means that it's 3 years of our life we don't have to work for the house anymore. At the end.
Oh boy, Frank! Listen,
those 7 months took off 3 years of mortgage payments.
And had you realized that before?
Conceptually, but not. I just had never done it. Right? Yeah. Philosophically, but So I mean, but I'm glad that we did it. Now we're thinking about doing something else. So first thing I did was I bought your book last night.
All right.
See, I told you I was a slow learner.
So Frank, we were all earlier before you came on, we were talking about a measuring device. But what if you had a measuring device that you could put all of your mortgages in and then figure out where's the best place to put your money, save the maximum amount of interest per dollar, gain equity at 5 to 7 times the regular rate, and be able to cash out 5 to 7 years sooner and buy more properties at a much lower interest cost? What would that mean to you?
It sounds appealing. I mean, it sounds appealing, but I gotta. We have to see, because we have, we refinanced several properties in the last few years, and it's cost us, and one of them including this one. And by the way, there's a prepayment penalty involved in that math too that you're looking at.
Oh, Frank, listen, let's talk about that, because real estate investors have to consider talking about the prepayment penalties that you're talking about. And so tell us, Frank, how much penalty? So you're saying there's a prepayment penalty on this loan?
Yeah, it's already in that calculation.
And you prepaid it anyhow?
Yes.
Frank, what was a prepayment penalty for saving about between $35,000 and $40,000?
It was a 3-2-1 step down deal, right? So the first year we had to pay 3% penalty, second year 2%, third year is 1%. Well, this was in the third year, so I had to pay 1%. Potentially, I had to pay 1% prepaid penalty. I haven't seen it anywhere, but that's what's supposed to happen,
right? And
but 1% would have been 1% on the amount over I paid, which would have been $1,000, which would have been at $10. So it would have been $10 times 6 or 7.
What?
So it would have been potentially $70. Let's just call it $100.
Are you kidding me? So the bank was trying to get you to avoid a $70 penalty so that you can give them an additional $35,000 to $40,000.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I don't think the spirit of it is that. I think the spirit of it, they just want you to stay in the loan for 3 years,
but
before you sell or refinance the house.
Exactly. So that's the spirit of it. But what do you think the financial upside or downside is that to most people? So do you think that for most people who are in a situation like that, are they thinking about the penalty? Or do they just the idea of a penalty, or are they actually doing the math to figure out what the penalty would be?
I suspect that most people are concerned about the penalty, and they're making decisions based on the penalty. But we refinanced one that had in a 3-year, in a 2-year, you know, a 2% penalty, and that cost me like you know, that was like a $9,000 penalty. That was a significant penalty, but I did it because we were going to save $700 a month on the mortgage.
Right.
You know, so it just, you know, try to let the math drive the decision, not the emotion.
There you go. So that's what we're talking about. We actually mentioned that yesterday, is that this thing is not magic, it's math. So if your prepayment penalty, so what if the language in the contract said this, Frank? There is a prepayment cost instead of a prepayment penalty. Would most real estate investors look at it differently?
I think it would be more clear. I think it would be more clear because the math would be, but there's no way for them to determine that, because if I paid $2,000, it would have been, you know, I mean, how would they know in advance what the cost would be?
Yeah.
Kensha.
No, you're negative.
Nice.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Amen. Frank said, I'm saving money and I'm negative. How about that, folks?
Hey, and that was supposed to be a secret. You guys weren't supposed to hear that.
So listen, y'all, don't tell nobody.
So, okay. Thank you. Hold on a second. I'll get the car and get back to you guys.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Do you see, folks? We have talked about these things so many times before. Kenyatta, we've had these conversations before. Here is a real life example of what we've been talking about. Kenyatta, what are you feeling about this right about now?
This just makes my heart smile, you guys, because like, I just want to let you guys know, when I met Don in August, this was precisely what we talked about. And I was on board from the first 20 minutes of us talking, me actually wrapping my head around the idea of how I can implement this with my brokerage's mission, which is to help, you know, people find financial freedom through real estate, not just be a homeowner, right? And this just does my heart so much joy.
Wow.
It can't possibly do your heart as much joy as mine, though.
Oh my goodness. Listen, folks, this is real life examples of what we're talking about. When somebody says, listen, let's do the math here. What would be the long-term repercussions of a decision made today? And even without the opportunity cost calculator, Frank was able to save a significant amount of money. But here's what we're going to be able to discover when Frank reads the book, and then we do a complete financial analysis for him. We're going to be able to show him, and he's already begun to discover, what if I had paid some more of that money up front instead of spreading it out over 7 months, you know, or what if I knew that out of the money that I have available, that this amount of money a few months ago would have saved me a lot more money in interest if I had a way to measure the outcomes. You see, folks, we make a decision based on what we know to be true. He's saving money. But what if he could have saved a lot more money, even with less money applied at the right time? So what we're talking about, folks, is how to save the maximum amount of money per dollar applied. If I could put $1 on here, how do I save the maximum amount of money when it comes to that? So listen, Frank, thank you so very much. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up before I go on to my next example, Frank?
I don't think so. I think that from my point of view, it covers it. I'm just grateful, Don, that God gave me the ears to listen to you and be in the area where you were at that time, you know. And I just I sent you the email. We reached out last night because I want you to let the world know that this is possible. This is real. And it's not that burdensome for my wife and I to make this decision, and to do that little thing. So thank you.
Well, Frank, you also told me, I want everybody to know that I was the second person you told when you when you made your discovery. Who was the first?
The first was my boss lady, my wife.
All right.
Boss lady.
Yes. Listen, this is fantastic. Listen, we covered several subjects here today. Prepayment penalties and how deceptive they can be, how real estate investors, because they're cash flowing, choose just to make the minimum payments on the debt. And because the properties are cash flowing, they're okay with that. But this property is cash flowing and we're gaining equity at a much lower interest cost. We just saved over $35,000 in interest Frank does not have to pay, and knocked off 3 years. I mean, just for doing something simple. So listen, folks, what we're doing is saving entrepreneurs, real estate investors, thousands upon thousands of dollars they don't have to pay anymore. So if you're a real estate investor out in the audience and you want to know more about how this is going to help you, come up on the stage, ask some questions, and see how this applies to you. Jared, back to you, sir.
All right. So, Kirk, do we have any questions on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter?
No, we don't. Nope, not questions at this time. Just a lot of ahas, a lot of folks just resonating with Frank's story. And again, we appreciate Frank for coming through and sharing from his experience. And we want your experience to be similar to Frank's. So we want to encourage you guys to ask your questions. There's just a little bit of time left, but we can get a question or two. So, unlike Clubhouse, you don't have to raise your hand and get on stage. If you're online on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, just go ahead and type your question in, just like Jeremiah did earlier. Actually, as I'm scrolling back up here, Jared, there is one from Jeremiah that we did not touch on. Maybe we can grab that one.
Go ahead, because I'm ready for my next example after we do this.
Sure. Here's the question. He's asking, are lines of credit simple interest? Are lines of credit simple interest?
Okay, now you hear terms all the time being bantied about: simple interest versus compound interest, blah, 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 blah. All right, so here's what's really happening. Okay. Amortized interest is amortized interest. Amortized interest is the formula the banks use to figure out how much interest you pay on a loan, and the formula doesn't change. But once the formula is applied, then the banks do something different after the formula. Okay, so listen, here's what I'm talking about. When you amortize a loan, all right, like for a credit card, did you realize if the credit card companies used a basic just the basic amortization schedule, that even on a $5,000 credit card, your minimum payment out of your payment, only like $1.25 would go to principal if we just use a basic amortization schedule. But what they do, they take the amortization schedule and then take a percentage of the debt and add it to that minimum payment. Credit card companies do that. So that's how they do it. But it's amortized interest, along with adding a certain percentage of the balance, and they add it to the minimum payment. When it comes to mortgages use an amortized schedule. They because the balances are so much larger, then they don't add anything to it. They just use the amortization schedule to figure out what the payment will be. Now, here's what's important. Credit cards also add in daily interest. Your car loan does the same thing. So they do it based on it's called the average daily balance. That's how they figure out your interest cost. Car loans do it, lines of credit do it, your HELOC does it. The average daily balance is how they figure out how much interest you save. On a mortgage, they don't use the average daily balance. And how do I know that? Here's how I know. Because if they did use the average daily balance, then there would be no no grace period. You see, a lot of us have a grace period of you can pay your mortgage anytime between the 1st and the 15th, and your mortgage payment doesn't change. It doesn't cost you any more to pay your mortgage on the 15th than to pay it on the 1st, because that's what they chose to do. They're not the mortgages only charge daily interest at 2 points: in the beginning on your first loan, on your first payment, just before your first payment. Because if you close, let's say you close this month in January, most likely your first payment isn't going to be until February or March. That does not mean they're not charging you daily interest until that time. So folks, when they say, oh, get the mortgage from us now and not make a payment for 2 months, it's not free. You are paying daily interest on that time until you start making payments. Believe that. And so when you're getting ready to pay off a mortgage, they charge daily interest at the end when you're getting ready to pay it off. So when you call and says, what's my payoff on this loan? They're saying, well, here's how much you owe. Here's what the payoff would be, because we're gonna tackle some daily interest, and this payment is good until this date. They're going to give you a date that it's good till, because they're going to figure some daily interest in there. So mortgages only do it at the beginning and at the end. So when we're talking about simple interest versus compound interest, none of that really applies. What we're really talking about is, are they charging me the average daily balance and then charging interest that way? Or are they doing a straight amortized interest where they're figuring out how much interest I would pay per month and keeping it there? Now, when you're late on a mortgage, they don't charge you based on daily interest. They charge you a flat fee. They tell you what the fee is on a mortgage, because if you pay your mortgage, you have actually until the 16th, because it's generally a 15-day grace period. So you actually have to the 16th to pay your mortgage with no penalty. But anytime between the 16th and the last day of the month, the fee remains the same. They don't add it up based on daily interest. Mortgages don't do that. Credit cards do. Your card loan does. You're going to pay more interest because you don't pay it on time, because they charge you daily interest. So this is going to be the real difference between all of these loans, on the rules each company applies on top of an actual amortized interest schedule. Now, amortized interest is not compound interest. Banks make amortized interest in order for them to pay compound interest. If I had a choice between, Don, how do you want to be paid on this? Do you want to be paid amortized, or do you want to pay compound? Give me amortized interest all day. Give me that. I want that, because I can do a lot more with the amortized interest instead of using compound interest. If I'm going to make money, so this is what we're talking about, folks. So it's not a simple interest versus compound interest. Those are terms that really don't apply because they don't have much meaning. We don't know what that means. So hopefully that's been giving you some insight on simple interest versus compound interest. All loans are amortized. Okay. Thank you very much. Who's next? Jared, back to you.
All right. Kirk, anything else?
No. I was just saying that was it. That was the one. I'm thinking that definitely you got everybody across the line with that answer. Thank you so much, Don.
All right, great, fantastic.
Awesome. So yeah, we have time for probably one more question. 20 minutes left. So if there is no question, we'll go ahead and go to an example. But I really urge everybody in this room, 2022 is the year of closed mouths don't get fed. And Don can literally feed your family with this information a day. So I would highly recommend. Kenyatta, you have something to say? Okay, you're just flashing mics. I highly recommend you come on stage today and ask a question. I can't tell you how many times somebody says, wow, I was about to make a huge down payment on my house and I would have missed out the opportunity to save 5 to 6 years of mortgage payments cut and canceled if I didn't come on the stage. So if you're about to make a big financial decision or you have a heavy, debt situation that you have on your heart, take advantage of this free opportunity to pop on stage, ask a question. But if you don't want to come on stage, then we can go ahead and go into maybe the power of the penny or whatever example you like to get into, Don, because we have some shy people in the room today. Nobody's raising their hand.
All right, listen. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn off hand raising in exactly 4 minutes. Hand raising turned off in 4 minutes, because if we don't get anybody up, we don't want anybody coming up at the last minute because we won't be able to answer their question fully. I'd like to do 2 examples. I want to do power of the penny. And then 10K asked earlier, what would happen if we had an extra $100 or $200 a month? How would that affect our payoff? And I want to show an example of that today. All right. So here's what we're talking about, folks. Let's go ahead and put our PowerPoint on the screen. And there we go. And we're going to start this thing off right here. All right. So it's loading in now. All right. So here's what we have here, folks, is a $200,000 mortgage at 6% interest, and the very first and the payment is $1199.10. The very first payment here, okay, the very first payment, and this is how the loan breaks down. Here's how much interest the bank wants on this loan: $231,676. And when you add it all together, on a $200,000 purchase, the bank wants us to pay a total of $431,676. That is a total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 115.838%. Wow. So when we make that very first payment, $199.10 goes to principal, $1,000 goes to interest, and we're paid down to the principal balance of $199,800.90. But $1,000 went to interest. On the very next line, and this is where we look at, your principal balance on line 1 tells you how much interest you pay on line 2. So when you make your payment in, let's say you made your first payment in January, then February's principal payment would be $200.10. The interest would be $999 because it drops down by $1. And now you're paid down on this loan by $199,600.80. But what if we did this? What if we made our regular payment in January? Then, while we're in January, we prepaid the $200.10 while in January. Then we would be paid down to line 2 in January. All right. Then our next mortgage payment for February would actually be on line 3. What is the result of this? We just got rid of line 2 on an amortization schedule for just $200.10. So payment number 1 is now touching payment number 3 for $200. What else happened? By doing that, this happened. We just eliminated $999 worth of interest we don't have to pay. What if we did this instead? Okay. What if we made our payment in January and then gave the bank in the same month in January $200.10, $201.10, and $202.10. The principal payments on the next 3 lines. Okay, $603.30. What happens then? We knock out nearly $3,000 in interest we never have to pay. And our next mortgage payment is actually on line 5 of our schedule. Payment number 1, touching payment number 5. We got rid of payment 2, 3, and 4 for just $600. Folks, do you see how powerful this is? Now, because we know this, all right, watch this. Here's the power of the penny. We just found out by paying an extra $200, it would save us about $1,000 in interest. We just found that out in this case. So what if I didn't have $200? What if I only had $100 to put on the mortgage? Look at line 2 here. $100 in this example saves you $500 in interest. Is it still worth it, ladies and gentlemen? And if I didn't have $100, what if I had half of that? $50 would still save me $250 in interest. Is it still worth it? Let's go all the way down to $3.13. Come on, people. $3.13. This is why most people don't put money on the debt, because they don't have big money. They don't have money to move the principal amount that they owe, because that's where they're looking. They don't have enough money to move the principal amount by a large amount, so they don't. But $3.13 will save $18.75. So, folks, let me ask you, if you gave me $3.13 and I gave you back $18.75, how often would you all do that? And I know people say, listen, I do it all day, every day. Okay. Do you realize what I'm saying here? The bank has to do the same thing. At this level, you give them $3.13, it makes it impossible for them to charge you $18.75 every time you do it. Oh, we're going to go beyond that. Watch what happens when we break this thing all the way down. $1.56, 78 cents, 39 cents, 20 cents. Listen, we're going to take this thing all the way down to 1 penny. 1 penny saves me 7 cents in interest I never have to pay. Folks, I pick up pennies in the parking lot. And this is why. If you knew in your financial picture, if you knew how the small amounts of money, so in my book, we call it gathering up the fragments. We took some verses from the Bible, gathering up the fragments, okay, that nothing be lost. This is how it reads. Gather up the fragments. So we look at it as gathering up the fragments of money, the small amounts of money. Gather up the fragments that nothing be lost. And why is that? Because then we're going to gather up 12 baskets full of interest savings. How about that? With the small amounts of money, you can make huge headway on your mortgage going into the next year. All right, Jared, back to you, sir.
All right. So, Katrina, welcome back to the stage and welcome to Clubhouse. You're going to be our last question of the day. Also, just want to say shout out to Safoa. If you want to open up some new rooms in your hallway, definitely check out Safoa. Check out her profile. Big on-time entrepreneur in Ghana and has a lot of dope rooms on Clubhouse. So shout out to her for popping on stage and amplifying this message out to that audience. But Katrina, please go ahead and unmute and let us know what your question is.
I actually didn't have a question. I was just participating in the class, but I thank you for the things that you just said. And yes, I did write some things down, because when we come back to where we need to go to, we will be purchasing a house, and your knowledge, your lesson that you just gave is very knowledgeable.
Miss Katrina, thank you so much. And listen, we see your party hat, and let me tell you something. When people are on this app for less than a week, they don't come up here on the stage. So thank you very much for your courage, for coming up and telling us what you think about this information. Congratulations to you for being in Clubhouse for. Yes, and listen, continue to come back and bring your value. So listen, if there are any other party hats out there, you have just helped them to have courage to ask questions. And I want you to know, Katrina, this is a safe space. You can always ask a question here, even if you don't agree with me.
I just know that don't nothing move just in thought. You know, you have to put actions to your thoughts in order to make progress, you know?
I know, and thank you very much for saying so. All right, Katrina. All right, so folks, we've got one last example that I'm getting ready here. Jared, while is there anything we need to take care of while I'm putting this last example together?
Yeah, I just wanted to let Katrina know, and for the folks in the audience that may be new to Clubhouse, the way you curate your hallways by the people you follow. So I see you're following 13 people, but you're not following Don yet. Highly recommend give Don a follow so that if he actually comes on Clubhouse, you'll be alerted and you can get this type of information. Also, make sure you click that greenhouse at the top and follow the club. And in terms of curating your hallway, I highly recommend that you follow Kenyatta, CEO, Kirk, Credit Goddess, and Safoa as well. Because if you don't follow people that are giving you financial empowerment and giving you lots of gems, then you will miss out on those rooms in your hallway. So you definitely curate by who you follow. So click on bios, check out what people do, look at people's replays, and the more people you follow, the better. Because you'll get more rooms, you'll get some more return on your investment for being on Clubhouse. So I just wanted to say that real quick. And I know Kirk has a question online. So Kirk, I'll pass it to you and you can have that question be asked. Thank you to everybody that's on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you're not following Don on those platforms, click ice10klive.com at the top and make sure you follow him on those platforms as well. Subscribe, share, like, comment. Because there will be some information that he shares in those communities that are not on Clubhouse. So you want to get the all-around P.I.L.L method experience on all the platforms you frequent. All right, back to you, Kirk.
Yeah. Just a quick question that came in while you were doing the power of the penny, Don.
Yes.
And the person asked, what was the name of that breakdown from the first slide? I think they were talking about the amortization schedule. And then their second piece, B of that question would be, is it something that I can ask my lender for?
Everybody asked that. Listen, folks, you can ask your lender for an amortization schedule. But as soon as you pay an extra penny on that amortization schedule, a penny more than they're asking for at a particular time, that whole amortization schedule is destroyed from that point. You need a whole new one. All right. So here's something that you can do. All right. The one that I use, and most people are wondering what I use, the guy's name is Brett Whistle. I didn't just develop that. In fact, we're going to actually develop our own after this in this next year. That's one of our goals. But his name is Brett Whistle, BRETWHISSEL. You can Google him and you can plug in your own numbers to this amortization schedule and then have some idea of what we're doing. We're taking Brett Whistle's amortization schedule, plugging a computer into it. And then by the time our computer gets done with it, then we're optimizing what you need to do, how much money you need to move, what month you need to do it in, what day of the month you need to do it on, and which loan to attack. We're taking it to that level so that you can maximize your interest savings. And folks tell me all the time, they say, Don, we're saving interest all the time just by what we're doing. I said, that's great. But what if you found out you could have saved a lot more interest with less money? Would that have been valuable to you? And I said, if there's a way for you to know how to save the maximum amount of interest, would you want to know that way? Or do you want to use a methodology where you're just guessing at how much to pay and when to pay it? And that's how we get to share with them our formulas for saving the maximum amount of interest possible and then taking that money and building wealth with it. All right. So listen, I have just about 6 minutes left.
That is correct.
All right. And now we're going to take a look at another program. Let's bring it up. And this is what John 10K was asking me. He says, Don, what would it mean to have an extra $200 so in a person's budget? So we're going to go ahead and let me go ahead and make a change here. Sorry about that, Kurt. I just get so excited. And
yep. And while Don is
giving you
this
bad information.
Yep. And while Don's getting this adjusted, if you're new to the room and you have access to a laptop or an iPad or a desktop, you can go ahead and go to that device while staying on Clubhouse, type in ice10klive.com, and you can catch this last example on the streamcast. So you can go to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, and you'll actually be able to see this example live on the computer screen.
Okay. All right, folks, here's what we've got to work with. This is John and Rebecca Jones. John and Rebecca Jones, here's what they're working with. They have 3 loans right now. Here are their loans. One is a $25,000 auto loan at 4%. Another one is a $2,000 that they owe on their Visa at 21%. And we have a mortgage of $200,000 at 6%. Now, let me see if I need to make these numbers just a little bit bigger. All right, there we go. And now let's take a look at what we're working with here. If we take a look at these upper windows, we now know that even before they get started making their payments, John and Rebecca Jones have a potential interest savings. This is how much interest they will not pay. $179,334. And they're going to be out of debt in 7.7 years by following our program. And they don't have to change their budget to do it. They don't have to sacrifice lifestyle. They're still going to go on vacation. They're still going to do the things that they want to do. Their family is still going to be able to create memories because their fund money is built into the budget. Oh my goodness. And they're still going to be out of debt in 7.7 years and save $179,000 in interest they don't have to pay. Look at this. This is all the interest that they're going to pay. The bank wanted the $56,000 that they are going to pay and the $179,000, but they're not going to do this. So let's take a look at what would happen if we had, we go back to the action plan. In the action plan, we're tracking all the money that's coming in. And so here is their income for the month in the green numbers. We've got $950, we've got $700 because Rebecca gets paid weekly, and $950. So Rebecca gets paid weekly. John gets paid bi-weekly, and that's their income for the month. And based on that income and what their bills are, calculating how much money they have left over at the end of the month, they'll be able to get out of debt in 7.7 years. But Sean asked, what would happen if John and Rebecca Jones, we add income of just $100 a month? So we're just going to add extra. Okay. And we're just going to call it income. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Okay. Let's just call it, let's just call it financial. Okay. So do you want to itemize this? I'm going to just say no. Okay. And then we're going to put in, we're going to make $100 extra a month. Okay. Just single. All right. So that's what would happen if we did that. So we're just going to save that. Watch what difference it makes. We're down to 7.4 years. We started at 7.7. Now we're at 7.4. We're down to $54,000 with just $100 extra a month coming in. What if we went back in and says, okay, let's change that. All right. I want to edit that. So we're going to go and find that $100. Okay. And monthly. Okay. Oop, I went there. I went to the wrong one. Sorry. $100 monthly. Where did it go? And we're going to change that to $200. And we're going to add another $100 to it. And
it's right there.
It's right here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry. All right. I'm trying to watch too many things. All right. So here we go. We're going to add another $100 to it. So we're going to add $200 a month. Look what happens. And we can save. Now we're down to 52. Now we're down to almost 7 years. Okay. We've knocked off that much. What if it was $300 a month? All right. So we go back down here and we're at $200 extra. and we're just going to add another $100. This is what I mean, folks, by being able to predict the future. And what Sean was talking about is easy with his 10K card. Just by sharing it with others, you could make an extra $100, $200, or $300 a month just by working with him and Sean. In the last few minutes, look, we're down to 6.9 years. We're down to only $50,000 in interest remaining, and our interest savings went up from, what was it, $177 up to $185,000 in interest saved with just an extra $300 a month. And Sean was in here just a minute ago. Doggone it. But listen, folks, this is powerful information. And this is what he was talking about by sharing. Jared, this is my last example for the day. Back to you, sir.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Don, for all the value that you brought. And also thank you to the audience for being here. Again, if you're not following the club yet, make sure you click that green house and follow the club on Clubhouse. Also, make sure you click ice10klive.com and check them out on all the other social media platforms we're streaming on today. That's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Check them out on Instagram as well. And make sure you follow Don by clicking on his profile and then clicking that always on notification next to the follow button. So anytime he pops on the stage, you will be alerted. All right. So with that being said, we're going to have our closing remarks. I'm going to have Don just remind you about the book, remind you about how to get in touch with him to find out the year, month, and date you'll be debt free. And then also talk about what's in this PTR and the All Access Tour, the Get Access Tour in Miami. And then once he's done with that, we'll do some moderator outros and we will get you on your first week of the year in 2022. All right, that being said, Don, I'm going to pass it to you.
All right, so thank you. So we're going to start with the Get Access Tour. And because the reason why I don't want people to leave, because normally we would be right back here on Wednesday, but I'm actually, if my flight doesn't get canceled again, I'm going to be flying to Miami tomorrow to get ready for the Get Access Tour this weekend, the Friday, the 7th and the 8th. So starting on Friday, the 7th, and going to the 8th to Get Access Tour, we're going to have all sorts of financial information there for you in Miami. Click on this link, find that and get your ticket for the Get Access Tour, and then learn about business credit, learn about becoming a lender, learn about how you can eliminate interest, learn about how you can use different wealth building strategies, and somebody's going to be teaching you how you can become your own bank, starting a family bank. You don't need regions. You can actually become your own bank, and somebody's going to be there teaching it to you. How to get started on certain things like that. So this is going to be exciting. I'm flying out tomorrow, so we're going to be off for the rest of the week. We will not be back in the club until let's see, I'm flying back on Monday, so we won't be back until Wednesday. So we're going to be off this entire week, and we'll be back next Wednesday. What's that date? Can anybody get it for me? What's the date? Next Wednesday, the 12th. We will be back. 12th. We will be back the 12th, ladies and gentlemen, bringing you more good content like this. And also, let's go. So what we're talking about also is how to get my book. It is a #1 bestseller. Some people have jumped on this thing right away, and it is changing people's lives to be able to have this information. So, folks, get the book. And then once you get the book, you can get a 10K card, a digital business card for every book that you purchase. That you can even give them away as gifts. And every card you can upgrade so that you can get what is called an affiliate link. You could become an affiliate with this great company just by sharing the card. And when people say, "I want a card," Sean will show you how just by sharing the card that when they get their own card, you can make an extra $100, $200, $300 a month. And you saw what that would do in our system. It makes a world of difference. And folks, listen, I'm excited about what we're doing with people, helping them to determine the month, day, and year they can be debt free, and how that interest savings can be turned into generational wealth. How do we do that? Go to the same card, ice10klive.com. And then when you click on that, click on get a savings and earnings report. Once you get the savings and earnings report, what's next? Okay. So we're going to get with you and um, arrange a consultation with you. You'll know the month, day, and year you'll be debt free, how much interest you can save, and how that interest can be used to make generational wealth. But I skipped over a part, so Kenyatta is going to come in and talk to you how once you get the book, how you can get your 10K card as well. Go ahead, Kenyatta.
So what he forgot to tell you guys is after you screenshot that receipt, go ahead and go to ice10klive.com and then go to step 2. And you're going to put in all of your social media outlets. And that's going to include your name, your number, and your email address too. And you're going to let us know where you want it received and where you want it sent, I mean. And then you're going to have a 10K card value at $100, you guys. I love that thing.
All right. Jarrett, back to you, sir.
Right. So, yeah, thank you everybody for being here. We're going to go through some moderator outros where people can let you know what they do and how you can get in touch with them. So I know Safola is traveling, so I'm going to do the outro for her. So Safola is CEO of Safola Designs Limited, a manufacturing company that she's been running for 12 years and counting. She's a fashion designer, industrial garment manufacturer, and multi-award winning fashion designer out of Ghana. If you want to connect with her, you can connect with her on Clubhouse, or you can connect with her on Twitter or Instagram. So check her out at Safola_SA4A and check her out. All right, up next is the Credit Goddess. Rose Allure, are you around? All right, so I'll do the outro for her as well real quick. So she can be found on creditgoddess10k.com, on Facebook and Instagram. She can be found on Your Credit Goddess, at Your Credit Goddess. And what she does, her goal is to help reduce the death rate of small, minority, and women-owned businesses, providing access to capital and offering creative financing. Where major banks say no, her and her program say yes. She believes every business needs a line of credit as a safety net by leveraging other people's money. So check her out for all things credit, business credit, personal credit, and she's an amazing resource on Clubhouse. So if you're not following her, I highly recommend you do so. All right, up next is Kirk to describe how he can amplify your brand all across the internet. So Kirk, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks so much, Jarrett, man. I think you do such a phenomenal job of doing the outros. I need to be absent so you can do my outro one time. But anyway, listen, this has been a phenomenal room, phenomenal time. This is a great space. What I love about being in the Pill Method room is just being able to network with folks, being able to be part of this family, and just pick up so many nuggets of wisdom, not just for my finances, but for my general life. And one of the things I love to do is show people the power of live video. Live streaming, which is what we're doing right now. For those who are watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, you are watching a live stream, a live show where you're able to engage with us. You're able to comment. You're able to let us know what you want to ask the person who's on screen. And what you end up with is something that is greater than if we were just shouting into an echo chamber. We were just shouting into the camera. We didn't have any feedback. We didn't know if it was resonating with people. What we end up with is something that we know meets a need because we were able to get that instant feedback. This is the power of live video, and that's what I do. Live video marketing. I'm a live video coach. I want to help you build your brand, your side project, your side hustle, even your business with live video. So check me out, kirk10klive.com. Excited to be able to work with you guys and excited about this space that we're in, the Pill Method room. Thank you.
All right.
All right, Tiffany, you're up next.
Hey everybody, sorry, jumping from another legal meeting. I really, really enjoy this room because it really is empowering you to see the big picture of your life. And that's what this is all about. So I don't even have to be listening 100% to know you got value out of here. That's how much trust that we all have in one another on this stage and in the P.I.L.L method. So what I can tell you as a YCEO network, what we're about is empowering you to be successful, whether you are a female business owner, you are a corporate executive, or you're a speaker, a leader, a coach. We're here to collaborate with you and help you to go to the very next level. And we give you that value at no cost to you on Clubhouse. That's why it's so important to tap, tap, tap into everybody here on the stage, because we're giving you all that we can here. But guess what? The reason we're experts is we can't share everything in 1 or 2 hours that we know, because we've got 10, 20, 30 years of experience. Don, I know you in your 60s, so I can't even go there with you. I mean, you like the ninja of the interest cancellation method. You're not going to find this everywhere, guys. So make sure you tap in. Thank you so much, Jared. I really appreciate you and your service, and everybody here on this stage. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm Tiffany, the YCEO.
As always, we appreciate your presence and hope that we've earned the privilege of your time. I am Kenyatta. You can find me at kenyatta10k.com, and I'm your real estate professional out of the state of Illinois, soon to be Georgia, as well as your finance service provider, assisting you with all of your commercial real estate needs. If you need some money, I'm your girl. And also, if you need business purpose loans, etc., I can assist with that as well. And it's just awesome to share the space with all of these people. And as a collective, I just love what we're able to do, and especially under the leadership and direction of Mr. Don Daniel. Have a wonderful day, you guys, and go ahead and feel free to share what you learned today and invite some people back with you.
All right. Yep. So, yeah, if you click the greenhouse at the top, you're going to see a ton of replays. Feel free to watch any replays that you missed. There's so many great questions and examples that are shared. Also, you can check out the replays on YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, etc. So just check out all the replays, share them with your friends and family. I'm super passionate about what Don is doing. If we can change lives, then our time is well spent. And every time we do this room, somebody's life is changed for the better with this information that they gain. So check out the book, check out the event in Miami. I'll be there. So look forward to seeing you in person. And when it comes to me, if you click on my profile on Clubhouse, check out my replays, you'll see the type of rooms I do. One of my favorite rooms is the Tech Recruiter Spotlight. We'll have companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Twitter, Apple, all on stage. They're offering roles. We've got over 100 people into tech roles in 2021, and I expect to double that in 2022 now that I'm on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, just go to my Clubhouse profile and you can check out my Twitter profile. It's Dr. NYC, so DOCTA NYC. I'll actually be doing a Twitter space with a Google recruiter around how to break into Google. And her goal is to find talent and get offers out to somebody in that space. So I'm not just about talking about solutions, I'm about providing them and actually getting results. And that's what Dom's about too. So that's why I am dedicated to his vision, because we are about results. So is Kenyatta, so is the YCEO, so is Kirk, and so is Credit Goddess. So if you want some results in 2022, definitely tap in with us on all our social media platforms, and look forward to adding value to you in any way that I can. All right. So with that being said, Don, I'm going to let you do the last word, and then we can do the outro music.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, everybody on the stage. Credit Goddess, Kurt, YCEO, Kenyatta, Jared. Listen, folks, we even had Frank come in, Frank Morales, who is a real estate investor, hasn't totally embraced the P.I.L.L method yet, the entire process, but what he has embraced has saved him over $35,000. And he actually also discovered that the prepayment penalty wasn't all that, saving about between $35,000 and $40,000 in interest he saved by prepaying, and the prepayment penalty was only about $70. Oh my gosh, what a powerful testimony we heard today. So I want to thank Frank for bringing that information to us as a seasoned real estate investor. He is now, from now on, going to start paying attention to the interest cost on his loans, not just the interest rate. And folks, I'm looking forward to seeing you right back here in this space for our regular show on next Wednesday, the 12th at 8 a.m. Eastern time. But also look for a pop-up along the way. We may pop up back in here on Thursday. Who knows? We're going to be in Florida. Maybe we could share some information for you. But you want to just make sure you tap that bell, follow us, and make sure that anytime we're on, you're going to get that notification so you will not miss valuable information. I want to say Happy New Year to you all. Let 2022 be a year of prosperity for you, a year of new knowledge, a year of new financial literacy. I am Don, and I'll see you next time.